What's up, everybody? Nick Arapkalis here. Just taking a little stroll, going to meet my buddy. Going to get some tacos tonight. And in a minute, I'm going to share with you a speech that I gave yesterday talking about how I went from a broke Uber driver sleeping in my mom's office on a futon to world traveler, six-figure earner, and really living a life of complete freedom. And I'm going to show that video to you here in a second, but first I want to explain something. This was one of my first speeches in this particular class, and it's a Toastmasters class, and we have a really excellent group because a lot of these people that are in my class are really high achievers, big business owners, and so we have a lot of talent in there. And it was my first speech, and a little nervous anytime I give a speech, and I actually went over on the time limit, and so they cut me off and they clapped me down. And I got upset about this at the time. It was unfortunate. But it just made me realize that no matter what happens, I mean, basically what I was speaking about is like, everything happens for a reason. There's gonna be trials, there's gonna be tribulations that pop up all the time, and you just have to deal with it. So no, it didn't go perfectly, and I wanted to make it go perfectly. I wanted to have such a great speech that I could share with my YouTube audience, and it would just be amazing. But that's just not the way it goes sometimes, and I just want to be real and authentic with you guys and share with you exactly what happened. And even though it wasn't perfect and it wasn't exactly how it went, how I wanted it to go, I got clapped down early, which again kind of sucked, and I was just a little irritated at that. But that's just the way it goes sometimes, and you just have to deal with that. When stuff comes that way, you just have to keep on moving forward, and my next speech is going to be a whole lot better. Okay, so I want to get that little message out of the way real quick, and then just share with you guys some positive inspiration. So without further ado, let's jump on over to my speech, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, Stephanie. All right, everybody, let's break some ice. My name is Nicholas V. Arapkalis, and yes, I'm the man without a middle name. It's just the initial. It was inspired by my papu, which is grandfather in Greek. His name was Vasilis, but I just got the middle initial. On today's talk, I'd like to share a little bit about me. I'd also like to help you understand what makes me tick as an entrepreneur and a human being. I'd also like to share a couple stories that illustrate why personal growth and freedom are some of my highest values. Hopefully you'll be able to relate to some of my painful experiences and maybe be inspired and motivated by some of my successes. Before we start, I want to ask a quick question. Would it be okay if I got a little vulnerable today?
Yes.
Cool. It's something I'm always looking to work on, and I just think it's so much better when you can be real and authentic with the people around you. Who is Nicholas V. Arapkalis? Well, he's a son, a brother, a grandson, a cousin, an adventure and thrill seeker, a former college athlete, a goofball and a jokester, a friend, a mentee who's always learning and growing, and even a motivation and inspiration, as some people have told me. In fact, across my various online channels, I can broadcast a message to nearly 40,000 people at any given moment in time. And that's really why I'm here in Toastmasters. I want to be able to speak better so I can connect better with my growing audience. And I've worked really hard to get here, and I'm really proud, but it has not always been like this. So, in fact, I'd like to rewind the tapes back a little bit and take you on a little journey on where my entrepreneurial beginnings started. It was when I was just about to graduate college, and I saw a lot of my friends getting corporate 9-to-5 jobs, and I wanted nothing to do with that. In fact, I'd rather work 80 hours a week working for myself, building my dream, rather than 40 hours a week building someone else's dream. And yes, that sounds cool and sexy, but let's take a step back and look where I was in my life. I was in my mid-20s. I had to move back in with my parents, who had downsized after I moved out, so I had to sleep on a futon in my mom's office. On top of that, I didn't really have a social life because I was working really hard on this online business, and when my friends would come calling, a lot of times I'd blow them off. And because of that, they didn't really support my online journey. How many of you have ever had that experience where you're working really hard on something, you're dedicated, you know you can do it, but you can't just seem to get much traction? On top of that, the people that you hope that would support you the most don't.
Yeah? Kind of sucks. You know, I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I felt kind of stupid. I felt like a failure. And I remember the night this all kind of came crashing down on top of me. I was an Uber driver, and I was driving this one particular night where it was one of the busier nights of the year. And I remember getting the same question over and over and over again. Hey man, why are you driving? Why are you not out partying, having fun, enjoying yourself? And the truth of the matter is I wanted to. I was getting a little sick and tired of where my life was at that point. A little break would have been nice, but it really wasn't in the cards. I needed to keep working, making some money, and feeding this bleeding business. And by the end of the night, I had it. I got home when I usually did, around 3 a.m., and I just sat in my car for a moment. And I broke down, cried, wept even. Not a real proud moment in my life. Fast forward about 2 years, had my first $15,000 month online. And I'll share exactly how that all came about, but I wanted to reward myself for this milestone. So I booked a one-way trip to Europe, grabbed my backpack, and went on a journey. Visited some amazing places, met some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And I found myself in Paris one day, kind of contemplating whether I should go back home, get back to the grind, or continue this fun journey. And I was scrolling through social media, and I came across this picture. Pretty spectacular, right? I'll tell you what I did not do. I didn't like this picture. I didn't comment on it. I didn't share it with anybody. I simply closed that app. I opened my travel app, and I booked a flight to ZAKYNTHOS, Greece, where I took a picture from the same exact spot 2 days later. It was a surreal feeling. I remember, telling that story, I'm still getting goosebumps. I remember sitting on top of those tall white cliffs, looking over the most majestic scene of my life, and thinking, I'm living my dream. I finally reached the level of freedom that I was after. And the reason I share this story with you all is I look back at that guy in the Uber bawling his eyes out. And while I wasn't real proud of that time in the moment, I look back in retrospect, and that might be one of my most proud moments of my life. Because if it wasn't for that moment, I don't know if I ever realized that guy sitting in the Uber didn't actually deserve this dream life. Yes, he said it with his mouth. It sounded good rolling off his tongue, but was he backing it up with his actions? No. And this was a hard pill for me to swallow, but once I realized it, things started to change. I realized that I was responsible for where I was in my life. I'm always responsible for where I am in my life. And again, things started to change. I started listening to my mentors. I started actually implementing what my mentors were teaching me. And that was getting better on a consistent basis, day in and day out, even if that's just 1% better in my skill set and my mindset. And if you just keep on implementing that, eventually you get to your dreams. Now, I don't know what exactly your goals are in this class, whether it's to be a speaker, just a speaker, build a business, or whatever it is. I'm telling you. Thank you.